Hey guys, I'm Valiant. If you guys want to catch me live, I stream on Twitch and sometimes TikTok. I'm excited to share this build with you guys. I hope you enjoy. So I made a new druid to be able to test out more builds. And today we're going to be talking about the Trample Slide Pulverize hybrid. This build is essentially just Pulverize with Trample Slide added on. For our abilities, we are going to be using Trample. Now instead of this just giving us 40 Spirit back, it activates 2 waves of Landslide as well. It's very helpful in nuking elites or bosses. We have Landslide on the bar just for the activation of Terra motes. Each enemy hit by Landslide consumes a Terra mote, causing a guaranteed critical strike with 40% damage. Additionally, bosses always have up to a 10% chance to grant a Terra mote when hit. Next, we take Earthen Bulwark. This is a staple in any Werebear build. Earthen Bulwark makes you unstoppable while active, and we can increase the duration of this with that aspect. Casting Earthen Bulwark grants 18% base life as Fortify. And then we're going to be taking Grizzly Rage as well. It increases your damage reduction, and damage bonus is increased by 3% each second while in this form. It also makes you unstoppable for 6 seconds, and you gain 8% base life as Fortify. You are able to make it, so this essentially has no cooldown. For our basic ability, we're going to be using Earth Spike, mainly because it's ranged and it adds Fortify to us as well. Our next ability is going to be Pulverize. Pulverize will overpower every 12 seconds while you remain healthy. Enemies overpowered by Pulverize are stunned for 2 seconds as well. In this build, Pulverize isn't our main ability, but it's going to be used while Trample is on cooldown. We are going to be using 2 uniques in this build. They are not required, but when you do get them, you'll feel the damage. The first one is Vasili's Prayer. It increases your damage while shapeshifted, overpower damage, maximum life, and your Earth skills are now also Werebear skills. This means we are now able to buff all of our abilities by enhancing Earth damage or shapeshifting damage. The next unique is Insatiable Fury. It increases your physical damage, overpower damage, damage reduction while fortified, and total armor while in Werebear. And we're going to be in Werebear form all the time due to the aspect on this unique. It also gives you +3 ranks to all Werebear skills, which now include Earth skills. For our gloves, we're going to be using Earth Sign Horror. Pulverize is now also an Earth skill. After casting Pulverize, Tectonic Spikes continue to deal damage over time. For the stats, we're going to be looking for plus ranks of Landslide and Pulverize, and then attack speed. The force stats really up to you. You can choose between overpower damage, critical strike damage, lucky hit. On our legs, we are going to be prioritizing defensive stats, damage reduction, max life, armor, and the aspect is going to be Disobedience. This gives you a stacking armor buff. For leveling, I feel like the aspect of Mending Stone is better. The duration of Earthen Bulwark is increased by 6 seconds. In addition, killing an enemy with Earth skills, which is all of our abilities, replenishes this shield. And for our boots, we're going to be taking the Quicksand aspect. This applies a slow effect to all of our abilities, which increases our damage because it counts as a crowd control. And we do increase damage to any crowd controlled units. And we have an aspect that increases this too. For the stats, we're going to prioritize dodge chance, movement speed, spirit cost reduction, and max willpower. In this build, we are going to be using a one-hander. I would prefer a mace for overpower damage. The aspect we're going to be placing here is Trampled Earth. Trample now summons 6 landslide pillars of earth during its duration that deal up to 80% more damage. Trample is now also a nature magic and earth skill. We will be using a second aspect that adds a second wave of landslide pillars to this ability. And for the stats, we will focus on vulnerability, crit damage, critical strike chance, and willpower. For our offhand, we're going to want as much cooldown reduction as possible. This will keep Grizzly Rage up and reduce the duration of Trample, which is a core component of this build. For the aspect, we're using Aftershock, Landslides, Earth Pillars each strike a second time and deal an additional 12% bonus damage per hit. The next stats we are looking for would be Spirit Cost Reduction, Lucky Hit Chance, and Critical Strike Chance. Stats mentioned before would work as well. And for our rings, we're going to be using the Crash Stone and Umbral aspects. The stats we're going to prioritize are vulnerable damage, critical strike damage, lucky hit, critical strike chance, max life. And for our amulet, it's important that Shockwave aspect goes on this. The other aspects can be interchanged, but Shockwave needs to be on here for the 50% increase. This is so we don't lose out on too much damage from not using a two-hander and gaining an extra aspect. And for the stats, we're going to prioritize cooldown reduction, movement speed, armor, or damage reduction, and then +3 ranks of either Crushing Earth or Stone Guard passive. And then the hearts we are using in this build would be the Caged Heart of Revenge, which gives us 10 to 20% damage reduction. Also adds a bit of damage, but the main component is flat damage reduction. Next, we're going to be using the Caged Heart of Picana. Critical strikes electrically charge the enemy for 3 seconds, causing lightning to arc between them and any other charged enemies. Since all we do is AoE damage, this is going to apply to everybody that we crit, increasing our damage significantly. And for leveling, the best choice for the last heart would be the Heart of Determination. Resource draining effects are less effective. In addition, you gain increased resource regeneration. For boss fights, the Barber is the best choice. But for clearing dungeons, I feel like this keeps enemies alive for longer than it takes you to actually kill them. It slows you down. For Spirit Bones, we're going to be using Wariness. You take 10% reduced damage from elites. And then next, I'm using Swooping Attacks. You gain 10% attack speed. You could either use Avian Wrath or Scythe Talons, which is crit damage and critical strike chance. But obviously the attack speed doesn't help trample, it only helps pulverize. The other two help trample and pulverize. Next, we're going to be taking Calamity. It extends the duration of your ultimate skills by 25%. If you really need to, you can take Energize to keep your spirit up. And finally, we're going to be taking Obsidian Slam for more overpowers. This is our second guaranteed overpower buff. And then we're going to be taking Masochist. Critical strikes with shape-shifting skills have up to a 75% chance to heal you for 3% of your life. You could switch either of these out with Calm Before the Storm, which gives your nature magic skills a 10% chance to reduce the cooldown of your ultimate skill by 2 seconds. For the skill tree, our basic ability is going to be Earth Spike. We are going to be taking Enhanced and Fierce Earth Spike. This causes our basic attack to also fortify us for 8% of our base life. For our core skills, we're going to be putting 5 points into Pulverize, 1 point in Enhanced, and Raging Pulverize. We're going to put 1 point into Heart of the Wild, and 3 points into Wild Impulse. We're going to put 3 points into Predatory Instinct, and 3 points into Iron Fur. Put 5 points into Landslide, 1 point into Enhanced Landslide, and Primal Landslide. And for our defensive skills, 1 point into Earthen Bulwark, 1 point into Enhanced and Preserving. And then we're going to put 1 point into Ancestral Fortitude, and 2 points into Vigilance. Then we're not going to put anything into the companion skills. Into our wrath skills, we are going to be putting 1 point into Trample, Enhanced Trample, and Savage Trample. Then we're going to put 1 point into Provocation and Mending, 3 points into Crushing Earth, 2 points into Safeguard, and 3 points into Stone Guard. For our ultimate abilities, we're going to be putting 1 point into Defiance, 3 points into Circle of Life, and 3 points into Natural Disaster. Then 1 point into Defensive Posture, 1 point into Grizzly Rage, Prime Grizzly Rage, and Supreme Grizzly Rage. Then for our key passive, we're going to be taking Ursine Strength. We are able to take this key passive because we're using the Umbral aspect on our ring, which gives us spirit back each time we crowd control an enemy, plus all the spirit cost reduction that we're using. This gives us a 20% additional maximum life and 30% increased damage while healthy. I prefer using this over the Grizzly Rage aspects because this gives you damage at all times. It's a permanent buff. Next, there's going to be some gameplay video. I was able to do dungeons 15 to 20 levels above me. For our Paragon board, we're to go up and to the right. We're to get the prime node for damage and life. The first glyph's going to be Exploit, the biggest damage increase early on, and Earth Druids don't apply vulnerable debuff, so this is necessary early on. Next, we'll be taking the rare node Impel for 20% damage. Then we'll go up, and the next board is going to be Ancestral Guidance. We'll be taking the legendary node. Take all the plus Spirit on kill. We'll go up and get the core damage. The next glyph will be Fang and Claw to increase the core damage that we get in this area. And the next board will be Survival Instincts to increase our overall damage. So this build does perform a little bit better than Pulverize in certain aspects. It adds variation to the build instead of just spamming one button. It really is a different playstyle. I'll be posting a completed Paragon board in the video description. I appreciate you guys for watching. If you have any questions, just post them down below in the comments. If you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to follow or subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.